light skin, we've got dark skin, we've got straight hair, and curly too. Let me hear you. We speak English, we speak Spanish. We're different, but we're the same. Okay, here we go. There's loads of books and loads of tales about Anansi, so be sure and check some of them out at the library. This is one where Anansi is not so much a trickster as he can't control himself. They ever talk about self-control with you here at school? He has a problem with self-control. But Anansi, she said, whatever you do, don't go and touch those beans. They're very hot and you could burn yourself. What did I say, Anansi? He said, I won't touch those. He found himself standing right in front of that pot of beans. He said, it won't hurt if I just take a taste. Grandma doesn't have to know. He took it out of the bowl. He blew on it. It was good. Maybe just one more. Maybe another. I've had three. A fourth one's not going to make any difference. Well, Anansi got to thinking he'd like some more of that, and he wanted it to cool faster, so he took off his hat and he put the beans in the hat. Well, the birds suddenly flew in the kitchen window where Anansi was, and the neighbors started pounding on the door. They said, Anansi, let us in, let us get those birds, they're eating Grandma's beans. Well, there was Anansi, all those people at the door, and Anansi had those beans in his hat. You think he wanted them to see him with the beans in his hat? No. He had to hide them. Where do you think he could hide them?
Put it on his head?
Put it on. That's exactly what Anansi did. He grabbed those beans, he put them on his head. But you know, those beans had not had a chance to cool yet. And then they started to leave and they saw Anansi standing there like this. They said, Anansi, what's wrong? He said, nothing's wrong. You can leave now. You can leave now. Well, Anansi was starting to sweat. The sweat was pouring down his face. He was starting to cry from the heat. They said, Anansi, no, we need to help you. We're your friends, Anansi. Let us help you. Anansi just wanted them to leave. They wouldn't leave. He said, no, it's all right. It's all right. They're fine. I'm fine. You can leave now. His voice was getting higher and higher. They said, Anansi, let us help you. And Anansi was going like this, and he grabbed his hat and he started to move it around, to move the beans around. They said, Anansi, what are you doing? He said, it's a dance. It's a dance. He said, what kind of dance? He said, it's a hat-shaking dance. It's the hat-shaking dance. They said, Anansi, that's a wonderful dance. Let us do it with you. So they all got up and they started doing the hat-shaking dance. Go ahead, do it with me. And they started shaking that hat every now and then. They go, woo, woo, woo. Okay, well, let's go to Latin America. I want to sing you a little song and tell you a story that comes from there. The song is called Mi Casa es Su Casa. What does that mean? Who can tell me what that means? What does that mean? My house is your house. That's right, it's a way of welcoming somebody. It's like saying, make yourself at home. Feel like you're at home. My house is your house. And then she's hiking in the Andes Mountains with a Quechua guide. That's a Quechua Indian. They lived there a long time before the Spanish ever came over with a Quechua guide. And there was an Inca ruin. That's the old city of Machu Picchu. Okay, on the mountainside, and there was a llama or a llama right there, big fuzzy. Casa es su casa, help me whenever you are near. Mi casa es su casa, sit down and rest right here. Well, I was hiking in the Andes with a Quechua guide. It was an Inca ruin on the mountainside, standing in the shadow of a temple wall. There was a friendly llama, she was 8 feet tall, and she said, Mi casa es su casa, whenever you are Irish eat lots of potatoes, and in the old days they used to really depend on those potatoes. And this is a story about Jamie O'Rourke and the big potato. Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in Ireland. He would do anything to keep from working. He would sit around all day, and his wife Eileen would say, "Jamie O'Rourke, we'll have nothing to eat this winter if you don't get up and pick out the praties." But then one day, Eileen really did hurt her back, and she was laid up in bed, and Jamie had nobody to bring him his food. Well, you would think that Jamie O'Rourke would finally get up out of his bed, get up out of his chair or whatever, and go out and dig out the praties. But remember, Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in Ireland. To himself he says, with Eileen sick in bed, there'll be no praties. With no praties, there'll be no food. With no food, I'll starve to death. There's no telling how soon death will be knocking at my door. I'd best go and confess my sins to Father O'Malley so that I can go to heaven when I die. And so in the middle of the night, Jamie O'Rourke got up out of bed and started down the hill to the church. Well, about halfway down the hill, he heard a little singing and tapping. He come up nice and close, and he pulled back the ferns. And there, sitting in the middle of the moonlight, was a leprechaun. He was tapping on some fairy shoes. He was, and Jamie knew just what to do. He grabbed that little feller by the coattails and he held him up. "Let me go! Let me go!" cried the little feller. "Not on your life," said Jamie. "Not until you take me to your pot of gold." "Oh, Mr. Mortal Man," he said, "I'm just starting out in the trade and I've only got 1 or 2 pieces of gold." He says, "Won't you take a wish instead?" "A wish," says Jamie, "and what would I be wishing for? Me, whose wife is sick in bed and can't get up and dig out the praties and I'm about to starve to death." "Well," says the leprechaun, "you could wish for a magic potato seed, a giant potato seed. All you'd have to do is plant it and water it a couple of times, and you'd have the great, biggest potato you've ever seen in your life, and you could eat on that potato all winter long." Well, when Jamie O'Rourke got home and told Eileen what he had done, she says, "Jamie O'Rourke, you're not only the laziest man in Ireland, but you're a fool as well. What are you going to do with this so-called magic potato seed?" "You'll see," says Jamie. "I'll plant it and you'll see." She did see, for in a few weeks, up out of the ground came an enormous potato. 150 years ago in Ireland, the potatoes got a disease called the blight. It came across the ocean on the ships, and all their potatoes turned bad. You couldn't eat them. And those people who depended on them couldn't find anything to eat. They were all starving to death. And they lived in houses owned by the English, who didn't treat them very well, all these poor people, and they kicked them out of the houses. This is a chapter book, tells all about it. It's a great historical novel, Nori Ryan's song. And so 1 million of them boarded ships and they came to the United States. And most of them went to work on the railroads. They were very important in building. They had a work song that they loved to sing called Paddie On the Railroad. It's got a great chorus. In 1841 I put me corduroy breeches on, I put me corduroy breeches on to work upon the railway. Fill-a-me-ory-ory-ay, fill-a-me-ory-ory-ay, fill-a-me-ory-ory-ay to work upon the railway. That's your fill-a-me-ory-ay, fill-a-me-ory-ory-ay, fill-a-me-ory-ory-ay. Let's go back about 200 years. That's a picture of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which you guys are fortunate to live very close to. If you lived 200 years ago, you might live in a house like that, a log cabin, and the logs would come from the trees right around you. And you wouldn't go down to Walmart for your food. You'd grow some corn and some other stuff in your garden, and you'd have some chickens to get your eggs. And for your meat, you might eat a hog, part of a hog that your dad or mom butchered, but most likely, most of the time, you might be eating some food that you went out and hunted. And that's a hunting dog, and he's treeing some animals up there. Might be those raccoons. That's from a separate picture. You can make a little snout, okay? Put some ears on them. Let's give him a neck. Give him a little body. Had a dog and his name was Blue. Had a dog and his name was Blue. Had a dog and his name was Blue. Extra $5, he's a good dog too. Here's your call. Here, Blue. He's a good dog. Can you sing that with me? Here, Blue. You good dog. You know, old Daniel Boone had a dog and his name was Blue. He was a really, really good hunting dog. And one day Daniel was out hunting. They were running across a field. Out of the distance flew an arrow. It came so fast that when it hit old Blue, it split it right in two. The front half split away from the back half, just like that. Well, Daniel was always prepared. He had some super glue in his pocket. He grabbed that super glue, he slapped a little bit on the front end, he slapped a little bit on the back hand, and he held them together. Count to 5 with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Blue is all back together again. He blinked his eyes. He licked Daniel's cheek. He was all back together and barely lost a heartbeat. Now the only problem was Daniel was in such a hurry that when he put them back together, he put the back end on upside down with his legs facing up and down. And you know, super glue, once it's stuck, you can't do anything about it. So that's the way Blue was for the rest of his days. And you might think that would be a problem, but it wasn't, because, see, Blue would run for a while on his front legs, and when he'd get winded, why, just flip right over on his back legs and run slow. So it didn't turn out so bad after all. What is a folk tale? Okay?
It's a story that's been passed down from generation to generation.
There you go. Okay. The idea with a folk tale is how it's come along. There's all kinds of different folk tales, but the basic idea is it's been passed along from generation to generation. And the reason that there are all these folk tales around is that if you go back 100 or 150 years ago, all the things that we use, all the devices like TVs and movie theaters and smartphones and computers, record players and radios, none of that was here. If you wanted to hear a story, somebody had to tell you that story right there where you were sitting. And so that's what people would do in the evening, was they would tend to sit around and sing old songs and tell old stories. And they had learned them from when they were kids. And they grew up and they told them to their kids. I wish I was a mole in the ground. Sing it again. Oh, I wish I was a mole in the ground. You sing great. If I was a mole in the ground, I'd root that mountain down. And I wish I was a mole in the ground. Now there's different kinds of folk tales, and I'm going to give you some samples of them. We sometimes call them genres or subgenres, and one is the tall tale. Now a tall tale is partly true. It starts with a real situation that would actually happen. And very often, usually in fact, the teller kind of acts as if he didn't know that he was stretching the truth. He kind of acts like he's telling you the truth, but he's really exaggerating. And he's telling it just for the fun of it. He doesn't believe it. He's just telling it for the fun of it. Now, who can tell me something that a possum does that helps it survive from its predators? It plays dead, that's right. And the reason it does that is that when a predator comes to eat it, if it thinks it's already dead, it thinks, oh, that's not fresh meat, that's not very good, it's been laying around for a while. I was out in the swamp, and I was trapped all the day. I come back into the camp, and I say to my wife, what you have fixed to eat? I am very hungry. She say, not much, vieux, not much. I pick up a few shrimp and a crab, and with them I make a gumbo. A gumbo is a soup. Ah, chérie, I say, a gumbo is very little for a man fatigued like me, a man tired like me. Why you not kill a chicken? She say, we only have one chicken left, and she lay an egg every day. It would be a mortal sin to kill a beast like that. Just then, I hear a out in the backyard. I throw open the door, I look out, and there is a rat de bois, and he's got our last hen by the neck. I run out in the yard, I pick up a stick, I give him a grand coup de bâton. I put his feet in the air. I say to my wife, look, the bon Dieu is bon, the good Lord is good. Now we're gonna have meat to eat. So I take the hide over to Zebby. He the fur trader in the next camp. He gonna take that hide and he gonna sell it. He take that hide and he give me a bottle of wine for trade. My wife, she fix up a little bread, she fix up a stew, and everything come good. A little while later, I open the oven door to see how everything is going. Now maybe you not believe this, but I open that oven and there is the rat de bois. He's standing up in the pan. He had eat the potatoes, he had drink the grease, he come running out the door, he run between my wife's legs, knock over the bread, knock over the wine, he go running out through the door. He grab that hand and he go running off. And that's not all. That night, he go back into Zebby's camp, he take the hide off of the stretching board, and he put it back on. Now that's something, huh? And while he was there, he ate up the stew, and he went back to Zebby, who had his hide, and he took that hide off of the stretching board, he put it back on, and he ran off. Now, could a possum really do that? No, it's an exaggeration, but it's based on something true, which is that a possum plays dead.